Hello and welcome to Taylor Talks Comics Live. Both my moderators are in the chat. Hello, guys. I'm on time. I have the power. Hey, we both do. Shoot, I can't ban James. I figured it out just for you, Josh. Josh, you reminded me last week for probably the fifth time you've reminded me, and I figured it out. So, yes, we do have two moderators in the chat. James cannot ban Josh as well. Hello, Chris. Thank you for joining me. James, post a link. I'm going to challenge both of you, actually. Let's do this. I did a video back in the day on the crossover, the amalgam crossover of Bruce Wayne being a S.H.I.E.L.D. member. Go find the link. James or Josh, who's the best moderator? Owen Coley, nice to have you in here. Good evening to you as well. Happy Wednesday to Super Laugh Hard. Sorry, Super Laugh Hard. How you doing? Yeah. So today we started a little later. We had some things going on here at the Taylor Talks Live headquarters. Oh, Josh found it. James, super producer James, you're being challenged. What's going on, my man? That's my go-to video because I think that might have like the least amount of views on all of my. Oh, James came in with it. Josh beat you though, super producer Josh. I think that has like my least amount of views on any of my videos or something. I don't know. It's definitely down there. It was when I posted the full name, Josh didn't. Oh, now I have to go to the referee for review there on who actually won. But yes, that didn't say full title, just the video. I did that. I had the idea of doing like single issue videos and stuff too when I first started my channel, but they weren't doing very well. So it is something I do hope to be able to get back into once I get more viewership, when people actually care what I have to say. I think back then people probably were like, who is this Taylor guy? But lately, what do you guys been reading lately? I want to know what you guys have been reading, because I've been reading. It's upside down. H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness Deluxe Edition by Go Tanabe. And this book has been freaking amazing. I'm about 160 pages in or so, and I can't put it down. I've been on a big Lovecraft kick as we're gearing up for this holiday season, the Halloween holiday season, which I do have big plans for October on the channel. I've yet to reveal them, but I keep teasing them. So hopefully any of those horror comic fans out there in the chat, you'll be ready for October. Spooktober, perhaps. I do want to say, if you're watching this on replay, please comment down below with your thoughts. Just because you're not here for the live chat doesn't mean you can't be part of the conversation. I reply to all comments on my videos, so I will still conversate, talk to you guys later. Jose just completed reading Donald Duck 90th Anniversary Collection from Fantagraphics. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I unboxed that a couple weeks ago on my live video, and there was a mystery of who sent that to me, and I figured it out. It was Omar of Near My Condition sent that to me. I don't know if I guess I should have asked him for permission if I was supposed to mention that or not, but he sent it to me as a gift. Just total surprise, and that's why it came from Cheap Graphic Novels. So that mystery has been solved. The chat and I were trying to figure out who sent that book to me, and it was Omar, and it was very sweet. And I've been reading that, and it's been kind of a curse, because I am a huge Carl Barks fan and a huge Don Rosa fan, and I've read some modern takes on Donald Duck and whatnot, but I've really not really dived deep into any of the European cartoonists that worked on Donald Duck. Well, this book contains it's like a greatest hits compilation of a lot of different cartoonists that worked on Donald Duck throughout the years. And this actually is handy, because one of my pieces of news I'm going to drop today has to do with Donald Duck. But so that's a greatest hits compilation. So it's giving me the chance to read comics by not just Carl Barks and Don Rosa. And now I'm falling in love with some of these European cartoonists. So that's why I'm saying it's a curse, because now I'm wanting to get some of those Disney's Masters hardcover collections for Fantagraphics. But it's really a really great book, though. I recommend it, especially for anybody wanting to try out Ducks comics. I think it's a great one. As far as the Carl Barks Don Rosa connection, it does have the Lost in the Andes story from Carl Barks, which is like one of his most famous stories, and then it has the kind of the sequel to that story that Don Rosa did. So those are kind of nice tie-ins. Love good old Nuts HP. I need to give that manga a second chance. This is a great format. I've been wanting to read those Go Tanabe books since Dark Horse has been reprinting them, but they reprinted them in those really small, like they're not even tankobon size. They're like the really small, the same trim sizes like the old Lone Wolf and Cub books they did, which were even like those are not like tankobon size. I don't know why they went smaller with those. And Go Tanabe's artwork is super detailed and stuff, and so I flipped through those in comic book shops a few times, and I'm like, I really hope they do a deluxe edition of this, because I need to read this in a bigger format. I thought about maybe just reading it digitally, because Dark Horse does have all of their manga on Hoopla, even like their out of print mangas, like Appleseed is on there. So little tip for you guys, if you want to read some Dark Horse manga, it's all on Hoopla. So I thought about reading it on there because the screen's bigger than the page would be. But then they announced this deluxe edition, so I've just been waiting for this, and I really, really hope that this took off and they do all of Go Tanabe's works in these deluxe editions. I'm instantly a fan, and I will definitely pick them up. As far as H.P. Lovecraft being nuts, he is absolutely nuts. I've been going like, I have an obsessive personality and obsessive like so just mind. When I find something that I like go hard in it, and I like just try to find out every little piece of information I can on that thing that I'm becoming a fan of. So I've been going down H.P. Lovecraft rabbit holes like really hardcore in the last month or so. I was never a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan growing up. I don't know why. I was never really a big horror fan growing up, actually. Me becoming a fan of horror, like the genre of movies or comics, is really quite the revelation in the last 5 to 10 years of my life, I'd say. And I have theories on that. I think part of it was me growing up in the slasher movies were like the It Hollywood horror movie. And slasher movies, they're fine. I don't mind them, but they're not my favorite subgenre of horror. So maybe that's what turned me off from just like overall horror as a kid. I don't know. But I become a big fan as an adult, and so H.P. Lovecraft obviously is one of the like godfathers of horror, right? I always was an Edgar Allan Poe fan, so seeing the connection between that and how H.P. Lovecraft was a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe has been nice to kind of tie those things together as well in their stories. And I've never read any H.P. Lovecraft prose. Like, I haven't actually read his stories. I've only read like adaptations of his stories or watched movies of his stories. So I think that's going to be my next venture. I'm not a big prose reader, but I might have to get like a big H.P. Lovecraft collection. Well, Jose could tell you, but I just told you how great it was. So Discord, yes, I have a Discord. I get a few new members every like one new member every day or so. So it's been slowly growing, and I really appreciate that. But I wanted to grow to this thing that's kind of like this symbiotic thing that takes on a mind of its own, to where I want to be part of the conversation, obviously, but I'd love it to see like a community there where you guys are just having a fun conversation on comics, and I can just pop in and talk to you guys as well. So go on there, like anytime you want to, even any topic of comics, or we have different categories too, where you can talk about movies or wrestling or whatever. Anytime you want to just spout off and talk about some sort of nerdy topic, go on to the Discord and just start a conversation, and let's get that going. It was very nice of Omar. It was just a nice surprise. I text Max from CGN afterwards, and I'm like, hey, I got this box in. I just want to know if you knew who sent it to me, because I wanted to thank him. And he's like, oh, that was Omar. I thought he told you. So then I text Omar and I said, hey, thank you for this book. I had no idea it was coming. This will come as no surprise, but I've mostly been reading Judge Dredd lately. Super Laugh Hard. Hey, Super Laugh Hard. Do you read modern 2000 AD? I've been in contact with the folks over there, and they put me on their press list to read modern 2080s as they come out and stuff. I've been curious if there's like any certain stories or creators I should be looking out for. Coley, I've been a bit of a lull reading lately. I'm working my way through Saladin Ahmed's Ms. Marvel, which is okay, but nothing special in my opinion. How do you get out of a reading lull? That's a great question. Um, I I tend to because I do get in reading lulls, but I always talk about how I'm always reading like 10 different books at once, maybe even more. I like have all these bookmarks in those books, and which really benefits when you're reading like a Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age comic, because those I feel like you can read a few issues, put a bookmark in it, and come back to it months later and not be lost. Um, if I'm reading like a graphic novel or something, it's a little bit harder, and I have to go back and restart, and it's unfortunate. But so that helps, like reading multiple books at once. Because if I'm in the mood for like horror, I can read my H.P. Lovecraft. If I'm in the mood for something more lighthearted or funny, I can read some like Peter Bagge stuff. Or if I'm in the mood for superhero stuff, I can dive into one of my Marvel or DC omnibuses. So I always read based on mood, because I found out if I force myself to read something, like if I'm in the middle of a book and I'm like, I just got to power through it and read it, but I'm not in the mood for that type of book, I end up hating it. So I hate that. I don't want to be reading something that I'm not enjoying. Life's too short, and I have too many books to be reading something I don't enjoy. But so I always read based on mood. But if I'm in a total lull where I have no, and I want everybody else in the chat, feel free to chime in on this topic as well and what you do and your recommendations. But if I'm in a total lull where I don't want to read anything at all, but I still want to be like in the scope of comics in some fashion, I'll read like I have a lot of like history of comics things or reference books, like my Kirby collectors I have, or like I'm trying to think of other ones. Any of my Tomorrow's Publishing, or any of my books that like are about the history of comics, like that's kind of something I'll dive into as well. But what else do people do in the chat whenever you're in a reading lull? Super Laugh Hard, same. Taking a little break from for some Lobo, and Lobo is basically 2000 AD adjacent, right, Josh? We talked about that. Like Lobo reads more like a 2000 AD comic than it does DC comics, which is great. Jaime Guzman, thank you for joining me. Finished Roughneck by Lemire. I just started Fourth World and I'm liking the New Gods and Forever People. I haven't been able to get into the Jimmy Olsen series. Hopefully it gets better. You came to the right place, my man. I absolutely love Roughneck by Lemire. A long story on the channel. I don't know if you know this one or not, but I'll repeat it. Roughneck by Lemire is what got me back into comics. I spent like 5 years not reading a single comic. I just like quit cold turkey for whatever reason. Just wasn't into it. Didn't read any comics. Sold most of my stuff. Then my wife, for my birthday, bought me a gift certificate to my local comic book shop. So I went and bought that. So then I went to my comic book shop looking for something. I wanted to find something that wasn't Big Two related, because I was so confused by the reboots and all that stuff that happened over the years. I had totally lost. And I wanted to find Essex County by Jeff Lemire, because one of my favorite pro wrestlers at the time, Zack Sabre Jr., was tweeting about that book. And I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. My comic book shop didn't have Essex County, but they had Roughneck by Jeff Lemire, the same author, same writer, cartoonist. So I picked that up, went home, read it in one sitting, absolutely loved it. And then the rest of the weekend, my birthday weekend, I went to comic book shops and half price books and stuff, and just started buying anything that anything that had Jeff Lemire's name on it. And that's what got me back into comics, and I haven't left since. You like discovering great European artists? Hold my beer. I do. European artists are my thing. I actually just dropped a video on. Do I have the book here? I do. Oh, jeez. On Farewell Song of Marcella Broom. Waiting to see if one of my mods will drop the link in there. This is a book that Fantagraphics sent me. I showed it off on when I first got it in. And Attilio Micheluzzi, which I think is how you pronounce that name. If someone else in the chat can pronounce Italian names better than I will, or better than I can, let me know. But this is a great. It's like a crime noir, spy thriller, political. intrigue kind of book from 1980. It takes place during World War II. So check out my video. It's been doing pretty well as far as viewership goes, or at least better than I expected. Just because sometimes Fantagraphics books or more indie books don't do so well on YouTube's, but that one's been doing pretty well, and that was a review copy from Fantagraphics, so I appreciate that from Tucker Stone and Fantagraphics. But that was a revelation for me because I had never even heard of Michael Luzzi before Fantagraphics dropped that in the catalog that they're going to be reprinting, republishing all of his works in English, and the art blew me away. I could not believe that I never heard of this guy before, and it really makes me wonder how many more comic books are out there by great artists that I've never heard of because they haven't been reprinted in English. So yeah. Low Hit, thank you for joining me, my man. Coley, you basically stopped buying crappy books. That could be a what's put somebody into a reading lull for sure. If you're buying crappy books. I read the Huang, wasn't a fan, since I seemed like he was using Clip Studio models. What are you talking about? What is that? Sorry. I don't know if I'm lost in that conversation. Coley, I usually will reread something I know I like or take a break and jump into another hobby like playing a video game. Reading something else, something like rereading something is a great way. That's a great answer. I'll do that a lot of times. I love rereading. And my favorite comics are the ones that I feel like warrant rereading. So a lot of like Alan Moore, Grant Morrison stuff. I always talk about how like I always feel like their comics, I never get them 100% the first time I read them. And when I reread them, I pick up on new things every time. So I love rereading comics, and that kind of rediscovery of those things is great. And then also you're guaranteed to read something that you enjoy because you know you enjoyed it the first time. So many great artists have drawn Dredd over the years, including John Byrne. I didn't know John Byrne drew Dredd, but I do know a lot of great artists have, like Brian Boland, Kevin O'Neill, Brendan McCarthy. I'm looking at a Judge Dredd Brendan McCarthy collection right here. Carlos Esquerza, right? Esquerra. I have to imagine, did Simon Bisley ever do a Dredd story? Do not read HP ghostwriting. Trust me, those are the worst. I'm a big fan, but yeah, his madness created a lot and destroyed his life. Like, are those stories about ghosts, or is that HP Lovecraft? Was he a ghost writer on some stories? I need more clarification on that, because I do want to know which are the good, like really good HP Lovecraft written stories that I should read, because I've been thinking about. I know like Barnes and Noble has those like really fancy looking complete tales of HP Lovecraft books. I've been thinking about getting some of those, but also maybe just diving into some of the shorter stories. I don't know. Do you have the 40 Years of Scream book? I don't. That's book I've had my eye on that one because I do love horror comics. Obviously, I've been talking about that, and that book is like I can't get to them right now, but like creepy and eerie magazines, the Warren magazines that I love. That seems like it's like I don't know if it's 2000 AD that originally published the Scream magazine, but I know they just did the Scream book collection that I think you're referring to. But that seems like their idea of doing like a creepy, eerie magazine. So it's something I definitely have had my eye on. Super laugh. I'm excited for this. Hold my beer. The plot thickens. Barnes & Noble has a big collection of HP hardcover for like $20, part of their classic run. Yeah, that's the one I've had my eye on, and I think I might dive into, because that's how I have Edgar Allan Poe collected, is I have that Barnes & Noble collection. I just had to dust that off. I had to dig it out of a box because I was, again, this rabbit hole I'm going down. They actually reference in the introduction some Edgar Allan Poe stories in here, so I wanted to read those, and I had that collection, so I had to go find it. And I bought that book like 20 years ago. Jimmy Olsen sort of does, and the other three get better. Oh yeah, sorry. So it was Jaime Guzman, right? So if you're reading Fourth World, sometimes I recommend people when they're reading it for the first time to just skip the Jimmy Olsen issues or just kind of breeze through them. Those Jimmy Olsen issues are fun because Jack Kirby took Jimmy Olsen from being like this goofy character to making him almost kind of like this Indiana Jones type adventure that was like discovering the fourth world aspects in archaeology kind of thing, which is a really great concept and it's really fun. However, as those stories go on, they have less and less to do with the fourth world. As Jack Kirby's run on Jimmy Olsen goes on, so really the heart and soul of Jack Kirby's fourth world is just the three other titles. And I love the Jimmy Olsen stories, but if you're feeling like a drag by them and they're kind of slowing down your fourth world reading order or read through, I'd also just skip those and go back to them later, if that's helpful. That's a result. All 2000 AD is worth reading. When it comes to the modern stuff, get as much variety as you can. It's all mostly very, very good. Out, Thistlebone, and Lawless are good recent reads. All right. I need to write that down so I can be on the lookout for them. Out, Thistlebone, and Lawless. Thank you, Super Laugh Hard. You are quickly becoming my 2000 AD guru. So I appreciate that. I hope Game Tunes do more Billy Bust Up soon when the full game comes out soon. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Mark, but thank you for joining me. Oh, look at that. James Abel with the link. Farewell Song of Marcel LeBroom. Everybody go check out that video after this stream. I'd really appreciate that. I'll give James a chance. The Hound by H.P. Lovecraft. Okay. The Hound. Got it. See, with H.P. Lovecraft, I didn't know if that was some word he created. Everyone who hasn't should totally watch Toxic Avenger. Taylor can market that movie. Yes, that's one of my all-time favorite movies. Lohit finally watched it after me begging him to. It's definitely one of those movies. If you've never watched it, which I guess I should click on the comment. Sorry. If you haven't watched it, it's definitely a movie you want to watch with friends. No children in the room, though. It's definitely a hard R. I don't even know if it might be not rated. No, I think it's R-rated, but there's an unrated cut of it. Regardless, you don't want to watch with kids in the room. But it's one of those movies that's like so over the top ridiculous. Like it's like the best of those B movies, those B like so bad they're good movies, but in the best way. So many moments where you're like, holy crap, did that really just happen? So funny and just amazing. I love that movie so much. I'm a huge Toxic Avenger fan. And I could go on and on and on about that. If you have not watched it, though, you should. And trauma movies, I could talk about those as well. If there's any trauma fans out there. Hello, all. Thank you, Neater Zero, for joining us. Just dropping by. I won't be able to hang out long, but wanted to say hello. Hey, I appreciate that. Just getting back into comics and found your channel yesterday. Thank you, Neater Zero. Yeah, I think you commented on one of my videos. You did. And you said you subscribed, which I appreciate. Thank you so much. And if you're watching this, please subscribe. Hit that like button. Comment down below if you're watching it on replay. I'm on my way to 3,000 subscribers. It's my goal to get there by the end of this year. And you guys can help me with that. And on all my videos, if you're watching them, a thumbs up and a comment helps the YouTube algorithm put that video in the front of the eyeballs of other YouTubers or people watching YouTube that don't know my channel exists. So those are all ways you can help support the channel. Judge Dredd gets better and better with each read-through, which is challenging when he ages in real time and it's still being released weekly and monthly. For sure. Like all those things have always made me interested in Judge Dredd, but also have felt daunting and trying to dive into it. But Super Laugh Hard is going to hook me up and set me up for reading Judge Dredd. Excuse me. But it's all the artists that really have me intrigued and want me to dive into it. I'm reading Jeff Lemire, Teen Titans Earth 1 now. It's pretty decent. Oh, that's the older. Okay. At first, Lohit, I know you read like weekly single issues. I thought that was one of Jeff Lemire's DC books came out already. So I know he's back with DC Comics. But you're talking about the Teen Titans Earth 1 series that came out when DC launched all their Earth 1 stories, like Superman by Straczynski, and Jeff Johns and Gary Frank did Batman Earth 1. Excuse me. I've never read Teen Titans by Jeff Lemire, though. It's pretty decent. Let me know how it is by the time you finish. I think the only Earth 1 stories I've read actually are Batman. I've always wanted to try out JMS's Superman, though. Simon Bisley drew plenty of Judge Dredd. That's great to hear. I want to read those issues. I'm hoping I have the 2000 AD Art of Kevin O'Neill Apex edition. I really hope they do a Bisley version of that because they've done like Brian Boland, Mick McMahon, and they had Omar announce I forget what it was now. It was a not someone that worked on Dread title, but I'm really hoping they do a Simon Bisley Apex edition. I'll be first in line to buy that. It seems like Scream book has sold out in the most of UK. Fortunately, I got a copy, which means that I am more than happy to send you the 15 issues collected in the book. Oh my gosh, super laugh hard. That's amazing. The single issues too. That'd be really cool to go through. So one thing I love about the eerie and creepy magazine collections is like they collect all the ads and stuff. So it's literally like you're reading the actual magazines. Super laugh hard. You're amazing. HP stories to read. Oh, okay. This is a lot. I can't write all this down right now. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the chat and copy and paste. Actually, why don't I screenshot this? I could do that, right? I know how to use technology. There we go. Shadows over Innsmouth, the Dunwich Horror, the Case of Charles Dexter Ward at the Mountains of Madness, the Horror of Red Hook, Pickman's Model, Rats and the Wolves. So some of these I'm familiar with because of adaptations or references to them in other stories, like Shadows over Innsmouth. Obviously, at the Mountains of Madness, I'm reading that currently. The Horror Red Hook and the Rats and the Wolves were both referenced in the Alan Moore story that Jason Burroughs drew. I'm trying to see if I have it around here. It's the Neonomicon, though. Those were both referenced in there too, and made me want to read them. The new Toxic Avenger movie is having a hard time being put. Yeah, I don't understand that either. Honestly, I don't know how excited I am about the new Toxic Avenger movie. The because who's playing him? I can't think of his name. I know he's like a famous actor, obviously. He's in Elf. He's in Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage is playing the new Toxic Avenger, and the reason why I'm not excited about it, or not, I'm gonna see it. Like the minute it hits theaters, I'll be there day one to see it for sure because I'm a hardcore Toxic Avenger fan. But one thing that turned me off of the project was that they initially reached out to Kevin Smith about writing or directing the movie or working with the movie in some fashion, and he said he left the meeting. Or he said during the meeting they were having like a very serious discussions about how serious this movie is going to be, and Kevin asked them like, "You've seen the original Toxic Avenger, right? Like you've seen the original movie because this isn't it." And he walked out of the meeting. So I don't know if they're going to take it too seriously. I will say it's gotten good reviews though, because there was some festival they aired the movie at, and it's gotten really good reviews. But you're right; they're having some trouble putting it out into wider audiences for some reason. But who knows? I'll be there day one to see it though, whenever. Hi, Taylor and gang. Sorry, one of my cats is playing with the toy upstairs. Pete, thank you for joining me. Hi, Taylor and gang. Got held up with the meeting. Hope everyone is doing well. Well, thank you for joining me. And hey, I started late today, so you didn't miss the entire show. Yes, it's old era Earth 1. Lemire is going to do JSA for modern era. Can't wait. Super Laugh Heart is too kind. Seriously, he really is. Hello from Cleveland. This is not Cycle Cleveland, though, right? Joel Greenlee. Thank you for joining me, though. So there's a couple of things from Taschen I wanted to talk about today. It seems like this chat slowed down for a minute there. So I want to talk about these. Keep the chat going with your questions, with your ideas of how to get out of a reading lull. Anything you want to talk about while I pull this up. Because one of these books I've not seen anybody talk about at all. So I figured, hey, why not talk about it here? Well, that's not going to be helpful. And you'll have heard it here first. At least I don't think I've seen anybody talk about it. I've not seen it pop up on any of the Facebook groups or not. If you do see it pop up on the Facebook groups, tag this channel and say, hey, I heard about that on Taylor Talks Comics. Or heck, post this exact video on those groups right now and say, hey, I can't believe this is happening. I heard it first on Taylor Talks Comics. Those kinds of things would be great. Great way to support the channel. All right, so I'm pulling this up now. Present, share screen, bada bing, bada boom. So this is a Taschen book coming out in November that I found. Like I said, I've not seen anybody talk about this. There we go. And it is Donald Duck, The Ultimate History. It is going to be priced at $200. It is XXL sized, which means it will be the same trim size as the Marvel Comics library books. I just showed off the X-Men Taschen book on a video yesterday. So it's that same trim size, and same trim size as the EC Comics history book. I think it's the same size. I think the Frank Frazetta book might be the same trim size. I don't know if it's exactly the same trim size, but it's still pretty big. Yeah, so this is gonna be a really big book. I don't know why my voice just accented that way. It'll be 564 pages. And here is the description. Since 1934, Donald Duck, one of the most published comic book subjects, has been seen in more films than any other Disney character. This volume includes rare animation drawings, vintage comics, behind-the-scenes photographs, charming memorabilia, unfinished film projects, and unpublished artworks by the Duckman master storyteller, Carl Barks. Then it has a quote from Carl Barks. Donald is everything. He is everybody. He makes the same mistakes that we all make. I couldn't have said it better by the good duck artist right there. So reading a little bit more about this. Revisit Donald's life's work from 9 decades in one of the most expansive illustrated publications on the Disney universe. Following Taschen's Mickey Mouse, The Ultimate History, which this makes me want to get that book, by the way. We witness the career of Mickey's only rival for the throne as Disney's most popular creation. From his debut in the Silly Symphony short film, The Wise Little Hen, on June 9th, 1934. Sorry. The authors trace Donald's more than 160 cartoons, groundbreaking adventures in comics and TV, and theme park appearances. So it's going to be like a coffee table book that has a bunch of history of stuff. Plus, it looks like it's going to have some comics in there as well. Rare concept art, animation, comic drawings, and it says unpublished works by Carl Barks. I think Fantagraphics did that Diamond Jubilee edition of Carl Barks' Duck Stories, which is kind of a coffee table book as well. And it has all of his paintings in there because after Carl Barks stopped making comics, he was doing all these great paintings of Donald Duck, and they're like these amazing works of art. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about here will be in there as well. I don't know if it'll include all of them or not, but it'll have a lot of them, I'm assuming. I'm trying to see. David Gerstein is working on this. He actually wrote the introduction to the aforementioned 90-year collection of Donald Duck from Fantagraphics we're talking about earlier. But he's kind of a Disney authority on Disney history. So it doesn't say what comics are included, but it is going to have lots of other comics and stuff. So cool book. Here's the Mickey Mouse book, which I've seen this pop up a bunch. It's only XL size though, not XXL. That's interesting. On their sales and things, but I didn't know this included comics. So anybody have that Mickey Mouse book? I might have to pick that up. I know some people picked it up during their recent sale. So yeah, I'm super stoked about that Donald Duck book. I love Donald Duck as a comic book character, and Taschen puts out these beautifully designed books. Again, look at my video from yesterday, the X-Men Taschen book, and I'll just to show off how beautiful these books are and how great the restoration is. That's one thing I'm really curious about, especially if they collect Carl Barks stories in there. Fantagraphics has been doing a great job collecting the entire Carl Barks library. It's going to be over 30 volumes at this point. I have a video on my channel showing off all the volumes they've had so far. It's a little outdated. I think they've released 1 or 2 volumes since that video came out. But the restoration on those is really, really great. They even had like current cartoonists like Rich Tommaso did some of the recoloring and whatnot to make it look just like the old comics. But Taschen, when they do their comic restoration, they typically scan in an actual old comic and they might touch it up a little bit, but totally different than what other companies do with restoration. So I'll be curious to compare the two and see how good the Carl Barks library from Fantagraphics actually is to the actual original comics. if that makes sense. Oh, thank you for joining me, MD Masoom Rana Duwan. To be honest, many DC Snyder movies also got standing ovations, if I remember correctly. That's true. So you're referencing like the Toxic Avenger movie and how well it was received to the small audience that saw it. That's true. But honestly, if you make a movie and it finds its audience, I guess that's all that matters, right? I'm not the biggest DC Snyder movie fan. I don't know. Like I haven't watched all of them either. I really loved the first Wonder Woman. I liked what he was going with Man of Steel and Batman. My biggest gripe with Man of Steel is the coloring. And I know people always say this about Snyder movies, but that movie was all about the bleakness and the dark and like the terrible situation the world was in. But if you would have just brightened up Superman himself and had him be the shining bright light in the around all the madness of bleakness, I think it would have been a lot better visually. But I don't want, whatever. Joel Greenlee, I know you're a big L&R fan, and I'm wondering if you know what the Hernandez brothers are up to now. They're actually still making Love and Rockets comics. Like they're still actively coming out every couple months or so. And let me see here. And Jaime Hernandez has a book coming out later this year, early next year, I think it is. That's going to be collecting one of the bigger stories from the recent Love and Rockets comics. Let me see if I can pull it up here for you. Oh, there's that issue right there. And then just going. Oh, here it is. Perfect. So I will share the screen. Oh, geez. I didn't mean to punch the mic. Sorry. Share screen. Let me go to. So Life Drawing. This is the Jaime Hernandez book that's coming out in February 25th of 2025. I have a video on my channel. I think it's in the live tab. You'll have to find it in the live tab. Going over the most recent Fantagraphics catalog if you want to check out all the other books they're coming out with. But this is a hardcover, and it will be 136 pages, and it collects the story of. Let me see. Sorry. Tonta's life, Tonta's life, and how it connects with Maggie and whatnot. So it's some of the recent stories that was serialized throughout the recent Love and Rockets comics being compiled together into this nice hardcover collection. But they also have, they're also coming out their single issue still. So like issue number 16 of Love and Rockets Volume 4 comes out December 4th. And here's the cover for this. The cover, I think, was drawn by their mother, Gilbert and Jaime's mother, who just recently passed away. So I think it's in tribute to her. She wasn't a commercial artist like they are, but she drew as they were growing up and kind of helped fuel their interest in drawing and being artists. So that I think that piece of work, I don't know if it's been confirmed or not. That's what people were speculating, was that cover is from her. But these are like the same trim size as the old classic Love and Rockets comics. So it'll be 8.5 by 11, black and white. And it includes a story from Jaime and a story from Gilbert. Yeah. Just like the old classic Love and Rockets comics. That's the 16th issue of the 4th volume. So that's what the Hernandez brothers are up to. I wonder if the Marvel licenses ran up, but Taschen doing more comics is only a good thing. I agree. I don't think the Marvel licenses have ran out, though. I think it was a 10-year contract they signed originally, which I don't know. I can't remember when the first book came out. So they have 7 so far. I want to say 2021. Yeah, I think it's 2021. So I think 2031 is when it'll end. And they seem to be doing about 2 to 3 Marvel books a year. And they're like, Taschen is so weird about the release. It's so different than any other comic book company. And probably because they're not a comic book company, they're a book publisher. But they I have this like for instance, the Avengers Volume 2 Taschen book that's coming out this month. That did not hit the website or any sort of catalog or anything until a couple weeks ago. So it's like the month before, like this Donald Duck book. I haven't seen anybody talk about it. It just hit their website and it's there. Another book I'm going to talk about here if I have time is the same way. It's not even been announced, but it's been leaking images and stuff here and there. But doing more comics is great. From Taschen, I agree. I would love if they got into DC later on. Like an XXL Taschen Watchmen edition would be a dream come true. I'll just say that. And they could do, there's a billion other DC comics they can do. I don't know that I don't think I would pick up the same Taschen edition if they were to do like Superman Golden Age from the very beginning and start that like the first 20 issues or something. I don't think I'd be into, I don't have the space to, because if they do a 10 years license with Marvel, we're talking like 20, 25 books. And those are some big books. So I'm gonna have to become limited on what I collect. But if DC were to do some special collections like a Watchmen or I don't know what other big story. I mean, obviously like Dark Knight Returns, but I don't know if I would need that in Taschen edition. Swamp Thing would be cool. Yeah, but they also are rumored to do some other comic book companies. So I hope they continue in the comics game. I agree with you. I can tell you this: I don't think Don Rosa will be buying that book. Probably not, unless he had some sort of consultation in that book and they reached out to him. But I don't even know if they did, if he would even cooperate and work with them. You're right, but Don Rosa is, you know, I gotta love the guy for standing true to his what he believes in, for sure. Big Don Rosa fan. Luckily, someone tricked someone at Disney to give up the name Carl Barks. He was about to become a janitor since he didn't have enough cash. Fans requested the paintings and kept him going. I didn't know that story. I do know the story that he wasn't credited. Nobody was credited in those early Disney comics. And so through like the fanzines and true fandom, he became a name because everybody knew, like everybody's reading those stories, those comics, and they recognized that one, like certain stories were drawn better than others. So they just named him the Good Duck Artist. They're like, we don't know the guy's name, but we know these are stand out amongst all the other Donald Duck stories. And he's the good one. And then through fandom and whatnot, they found out the name Carl Barks. I didn't know he was about to go become a janitor, but I am glad that he didn't and was able to do those paintings and stuff. And then we found out his name, and I talk about that all the time, like preserving comic book history. And Carl Barks is a benefactor of that. Because how many artists and stuff that we, especially during the times that artists and stuff weren't being credited, how many of them were never credited and we still don't know who did it and we'll never know, you know? So. Rick Ray, thank you for joining me. They still make an issue of Love and Rockets every year. The current volume is 15 issues in. Is it just one a year? I thought it was like a couple a year. Let me see. Because I know they were doing the one a year thing previously when the books were thicker. When did issue 15 come out? Issue 15 came out in May. So maybe 2 a year? When did 14 come out? 14 came out in November. Okay, so it looks like they're doing about 2 issues a year. So, yeah. Great overview of the Taschen book yesterday. Couldn't agree more on the restoration quality. Thank you, Pete. And yes, it's beautiful. There are rumors that they're going to be doing these Marvel books in smaller trim size and re-releasing them. I don't know that to be true. I'm trying to get some context with Taschen to be able to talk about these things in more clarity. But there's rumors that they might, and I think they'd be very, very popular. One thing I was going to say, sorry, as far as when Josh was referring to the contract being ending with Marvel, Marvel's doing their Marvel Masterpiece line, which I think the first volume comes out in January or something. Omar announced it. I think it's Secret Wars, but they're their gallery edition size, so like the same trim size as like the Weapon X gallery edition. I did a video on that one. So it's a gallery trim size, but the actual comics on the inside, I think, are going to be more of the restoration quality we see in the Taschen books. So it seems like Marvel's kind of noticed these Taschen books are pretty popular. Maybe there's a market for this kind of restoration. and they're doing this masterpiece editions. I can't wait to get one in my hands to see what it looks like and compare it, because I really I talked about in my video yesterday, I kind of loathe the Marvel Masterworks treatment as far as how they restore their comics. I much prefer the Taschen version, but it seems like Marvel's going that route to maybe when this contract ends, I'd be surprised if it got continued on or something. It seems like Marvel's doing their own thing now. You mentioned reading At the Mountains of Madness, the novel or Go Tanabe manga. I just read the manga and loved it, so atmospheric and unsettling. The manga. I've not read any H.P. Lovecraft prose yet, but yeah, the manga deluxe edition that Dark Horse just put out. Beautiful, beautiful book, and I can't put it down. I'm only like 160 pages in so far, but it's really, really great. And I agree. Atmospheric is a way to, like, the tension building, because it's about all these explorers trying to explore Antarctica in the 1930s, and they have like all these different scientists on board, and they have this very stringent plan on how they're going to go about this, because all the other people that have explored Antarctica have failed and died or whatever. And then just like the tension building between the crew and the wanting to explore certain areas and certain things, and like the tension there, and it's all building up, and I guess tell it's like about to boil over into madness, dare I say. Josh Greathouse with the link right there. Man, I'm glad I made you guys mods. X-Men Taschen overview. Everybody go check that out after the stream. Are you planning on picking up the comic book adaptation of Cormac McCarthy's The Road? Let me look that up. I don't know if I recognize that. Cormac McCarthy, The Road comic. Who is publishing this? Oh, is it Abrams? Oh, I don't know about this. So this is by Abram Comic Arts. Let me share my screen and show everybody. Show the whole class. Read by Cormac McCarthy, illustrated by Manu Larsenet. $26.99. And it's due out. Is there a date on this? No? Or is it already out? Oh, it's already out. You can buy it now. It's a graphic novel adaptation. No, I don't know about this. That cover looks amazing, though. First ever graphic novel adaptation of Cormac McCarthy's Pulitzer Prize winning post-apocalyptic classic The Road, approved and authorized by McCarthy, illustrated by acclaimed cartoonist Manu Larsenet. Superb, but suitably dark graphic treatment of McCarthy's post-apocalyptic masterpiece. No, I am very curious about this. I'm going to share, or I'm going to keep that tab open for me to go discover later. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Have you picked it up and do you enjoy it, MD Masum? Let me know. Gilbert also has been steadily releasing standalone Fritz stories based on a series called Psychodrama Illustrated. Yeah, he's been doing that. He just finished Blubber as well, which is a crazy story. I don't know if I have it within my reach. I don't. But yeah, he's been doing his own solo stuff quite a bit. Fantagraphics Winter Catalog with the link. There you go, James. Thank you so much. You guys are great. So there's the catalog link if you guys want to check that out. Matt did a video on him. I recommend his channel after all you watch Taylor's videos 4 times. I need to watch more of the Matt videos. Matt, what a strange channel name too. Which at this point he doesn't need to change it because his channel's grown so fast and rapidly. Everybody knows him as Matt. It's around 2-ish a year. Yeah. So great stuff. Let me quickly share this. Well, first, let me go on here. So we're talking about Taschen and what other comics they're doing, right? I've talked about this with a few people and some DMs and stuff, trying to find out what the heck this is and if it's real and when it's coming out and all that stuff. And I think it's real because we found this cover image, but they have not put it out anywhere. It's not been announced anywhere. It's not in any sort of catalog. It's shown up in some shops here and there, but not officially in a catalog. It's very strange. I'm trying to pull up the image here. Sorry, this is taking a minute here. Sending request. But if this comes to fruition, I'm really gonna have to this bookshelf that I'm talking about, this custom bookshelf holding all my artist editions and Taschen books, is going to need to be bigger, because this line of comics would be another dream come true. I might have to just get rid of all my comics and only do these Taschen editions. Where's the freaking image? Okay, well, let me see about this. Because this image is only like available, or it's only seen in a couple places too. I don't even know how they found this. Things really slow down my internet here. Let me see if I can do a screenshot. And then sorry guys, I'm trying to figure this out. I should have had this prepared ahead of time. Window. There we go. How's that showing up? Look at this thing. EC Comics. Let me try to zoom in on this. Previews. Okay, so it's working. So look at this. This is I don't know if it's coming up blurry. Let me expand this a little bit here. How about that? But you can see that this looks like a Taschen book. You can see the spine of it right there. It looks like it has the circle logo on the side with the title treatment on the spine. And this is an EC book. So this has popped out, or popped up in the on the internet. And there's been some in certain shops. There's a link for this book, but there's no official in catalog. I can't find any information on this. It says it's due out this year in like a couple months. I think it says September, October. So it's just gonna pop up and be for sale. I don't know, but I've had my eye on it. But that would apparently collect all of the Weird Science issues in one volume. It's marked at $200, just like the Marvel books, but it is going to be thicker than it. I think it's going to have like 800 pages in it. And yes, James, find the Taschen TC book. If you can find an official listing for it, I appreciate it. There's a couple like weird European small comic book shops that have had listings on it, but there's no picture images. That's the only picture I've been able to find. And no true information, because some of them list them as a paperback, but that can't be true either. It looks like it's going to be the XXL Marvel stuff, but EC Comics collections, which would be amazing. I already have all of the Fantagraphics EC books. Do I have any of those handy? Yes, I do, actually. Which I have a bunch of videos on these. One of the videos I do have planned in October is an update to all the Fantagraphics hardcover EC Comics releases so far. These are brilliant, brilliant books. I have a lot of videos on my channel showing them off. I already have all these, but I would buy those Taschen books because I think they would be exact restoration of the original coloring of those comics, something that has never been done before. EC Comics have been collected a number of different ways and by different publishers. In color, most recently by Dark Horse, but those are modern colorizations, which I don't really care for. The Fantagraphics books are in black and white. But if they were to do the Taschen treatment, which would be scanning in old comics and having them printed on those big XXL pages, that would be a dream come true. I would buy every single one of those. So heard it here first. Donald Duck Taschen collection and EC Comics potentially. So whenever you hear about those, let everybody know where you heard about it first. No, I haven't picked it up yet. Soon, maybe next week. Currently going through Mutant Massacre Prelude and Alita Last Order. We'll be done with Last Order tonight, I think. Alita is a comic I need to read. I've never read it at all, and I know I would love it. It's just one of those It's one of those series where like I feel like I need to pick up the whole series at once, and I already know I'm going to love it just based on the artwork and the story and everything. There's just a lot of comics that come out, and you can't buy them all, right? And Mute Massacre Prelude, that omnibus was a big one that just dropped. I clicked all my mutant stuff in Epic Collections, so give you $10 for the Love and Rocket box set. Well, you didn't even. I don't have a Love and Rocket box set, so you lose. No. Oh, we're having an auction now. 12. You're a pal. I shouldn't cheat you. 15. Okay. Pete, I can ban you now. Uh-oh. Watch out, Pete. Mad with Power. 100 perfect. James, find Taschen EC book. Dark Horse's insistence on not doing EC hardcover reprints has always been an issue for me. Yeah, the coloring is horrible, so I think Taschen is the way to go. Yeah, they are reprinting them in those paperbacks, which is a great value. For like $19.99, you get, I think it's 5 or 6 issues of EC Comics in a nice magazine size format paperback. Great deal. It's even cheaper than the Creepy Eerie reprints, which are in black and white because that's how those originally were printed. So, like I said, I don't like the coloring in those new ones, but if that's the only way somebody reads them, I'm happy for you because EC Comics should be read by everybody. Yeah, those weird science recolors are brutal. I read a few from a library, but the colors were bad. Yeah, it's just I get the idea that you're trying to modernize colors for a modern audience because when people see older coloring techniques on older comics, they think like it's like the same feeling that people like a modern movie audience would have to like a black and white movie from back in the day. They're like, that looks old. I'm not interested. So I understand that thought process, but also I hate that thought process. I want the actual original treatment. I don't think that they need to be, because the way I see it is like George Lucas going back and restoring his movies, quote unquote, and adding new special effects and making it look flashier and stuff. Like, no, I love the nostalgia and the charm of the way the movie was originally done. But I guess maybe there's a market audience for both. I love Dark Horse. I get the fear, but lack of reprinting hardcovers is nuts. I want the Goon, Usagi, and others. I really feel like Goon library editions are gonna come. Now that Eric Powell's back with Dark Horse and Albatross Funny Books is an imprint of Dark Horse, I really feel like we're gonna get library editions, reprints of those. Especially since they've done new Goon stories after that, so they're gonna be able to do like a 6th volume. I think that'll happen. You can't trick anyone reading EC Comics into thinking they're contemporary with garish colors. Gotta lean into its heritage. I hate the covers that do that too, slapping modern art on old runs. I agree 100%. Yeah, for sure. But I gotta get out of here. I gotta go get my son from school. Everybody, please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below if you're watching this on replay. And stay tuned for more videos coming out this week. I really appreciate you guys being here with me. The one line that suffered the most DH is Magnoliverse. Yes, there's no consistent trim size for that format. I agree with that. This is kind of hard. But thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. James Abel with the Discord. Everybody go join my Discord and we can continue conversation and talking comics over there all day, every day. Thanks for talking comics. Super laugh hard. Thank you. Later, y'all. Thanks, Taylor. Panel to Pete. See you guys. Have a great day. Keep reading comics.